Namaste everyone. Welcome to Hindu Center of Atlanta's weekly spiritual learning program for adults. Today, we have joined together with Acharya Brahm Devji in the context of International Day of Justice on 17th of July, just yesterday. Acharya will be talking about the Vedic Hindu philosophy and concept of justice in today's session. Acharya Brahm Devji has an inclusive educational background in science, banking, management, and Darsanacharya Vedic philosophy, Darshan Yog Mahavidyalaya, Gujarat, and a diverse career in financial services, industry, and at Arya Sabha Mauritius. He has been a key resource person for Arya Sabha Mauritius on the universal Vedic values, yoga and meditation, and on interfaith and intercultural dialogue at various national and international forums. The Mauritius Council of Religions, Arya Pratinidhi Sabha America, Greater Atlanta Vedic Temple, and Hindu Center of Atlanta Yoga and Meditation Center in Coming. He is author of numerous insightful articles on Vedic philosophy and contemporary issues in French and English. Over to Acharya-ji.
Namaste, everybody. Let's bring our mind to focus. Sit down straight with the body totally relaxed. Eyes gently closed. Deep inhale and exhale. And while exhaling, we are going to chant Om 3 times and Gayatri Mantra, where we pray to God for the enlightened mind. Om Bhurabhuvah Swaha Tatsavitурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Join the palms together, gently rub them, cover the eyes, open the eyes below the palms, and keep the focus. So I'll be going through a PowerPoint so that it becomes easier to follow and understand. So, namaste, welcome. 17th July 2021. It was the World Day for International Justice. And as usual, we take events like that and see what the Vedic Hindu philosophy or Sanatan Dharma says about these things. So we are going to look into the concepts of justice, first understanding why that. The World Day for International Justice celebrates the establishment of the International Criminal Court and system of justice. It seeks to protect people from genocides, crimes against humanity, war crimes, torture, and forced disappearances, crimes of aggression, amongst others. So let's see, it says seeks to protect people from. And one of the mottos or maxims which they use is where there is justice, peace prevails. However, the International Criminal Court investigates, indicts, or judges the events like genocides, war crimes, etc., etc. But these are all post the event happenings. That is, it can only investigate, indict, judge after there has been something wrong. And in contrast to that, there is another day which is celebrated. It's World Day for Social Justice. Social justice as the underlying principles for peace, progress, and coexistence. Barriers, trying to sensitize people on the need to pull down the barriers, especially the discrimination, gender-based, age, race, ethnicity, faith, beliefs, culture, disability, and so many man-made walls between humans. And it's nearly about 6 months later that we celebrate World Day of International Justice. Some contemplation brought me to the conclusion that these should have been two very close dates. Because one is about sensitization people on the need for social justice, and the other one is post the event happenings or remedial actions on wrongdoings. That is something to be contemplated about, because one is sensitization, that is creating awareness, building knowledge, and the other one is action after wrongdoings. International Court of Justice, the actions, the line of actions are distributive. Who gets what? Then there's the procedural, determines how fairly people were or are treated. Then there's the retributive actions, punishment for wrongdoings. Then restorative actions, about trying to mend the relationships to rightness by awarding compensation and rehabilitation programs. Its actions try to reestablish equity, access to resources, participation, diversity, and rights. Now let's look at what Sanatan Dharma outlines. First, there's a strong advocacy for good social construct. In the scriptures, Vedas, in the Smritis, Upanishads, Darshan Shastras, etc. And if we look at the administration of the kingdom, which is famously known as Ram Rajya in the Ramayana. If we look at the Bhishma Parva and the Vidura Niti in the Mahabharata, and a closer look at the discourse of the Gita to Arjuna. All these focus on the holistic development of individuals, where the smallest unit of society, that is, individual, is taken into consideration. And it says prevention is not only better, but also cheaper than cure. That's why in the two epics, Itihas, Ramayana and Mahabharata, war was the last option, and war also carried ethical principles, like war stopped at sunset and started again at sunrise. And the night was a bit of healing, about tendering after the injured and disposing of the corpses of those who died, etc. And also looking at the needs of those who were not fighting, women, children, and old people, etc. So that was the holistic approach, and it always put the common good first. Then Sanatan Dharma, the concept of the holistic approach to development, human development. The Vedas say Manurbhava Devyam Janam. So be human, not by species, but be human in thoughts, words, and actions. Be human in character, deeds, and nature. In other words, manasaa-vaachaa-karmanaa or guna-karma-svabhaava. Why the emphasis of being human? The emphasis is on living values with equity, that is, all people are treated alike. And the focus remains on the common good, the building of increasing welfare, physical, mental, moral, spiritual, and social well-being. And when we talk about social justice or international justice, just remember, it starts with the development of the person. If we are all careful, in line with what this shlok says, manasyekam vachasyekam karmanyekam mahatmanam, manasyanyat vachasyanyat karmanyanyat duratmanam. That is, the noble person, Mahatma, is the one who maintains harmony between thoughts, speech, or words, and actions. And the Duratma, the evil, is the one who thinks on one line, speaks on another footing, and acts on a third level. That is, there's total dissonance. And if we look at injustice, it starts with the dissonance or disharmony between what we think about, what we say, what we write, and also how we act. And this is the root cause of evil. And remember, Sanatan Dharma emphasizes on Karmaphala, law of karma. That is, each action has an equal and corresponding reaction. And obviously, as we sow, so we shall reap. So even if we escape the laws of justice of the country or international justice, just remember, Karmaphala is going to take over, the law of karma. So the universal principles are also on Sangachadam Samvadadvam Sambho Manansi Janata. Let's put our mind together to achieve common objectives. And when we are looking common objectives, therein lies our own personal interest. Because if we are looking about only self-interest and society is going bad, then we are going obviously to be the losers. And if society is doing good, then obviously we can prosper. Then the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which says the world is but one family. And as one family, we'll be caring for each other, not exploiting or doing injustice towards each other. Another concept is about Krinvanto Vishwa Mariam, that all be noble in thoughts, in words, and deeds. These are but a few concepts. If we want to delve into them, we can either go through Chanakya Niti, which is about politics. We can go into the teachings of the Ramayana, especially when the war is being thought over. What are the principles? And if we look into the personality of Sri Ram as the ideal son, the ideal brother, the ideal friend, the ideal ruler, then we'll understand the concept of what is nobility in personality. And if we go into the Mahabharata, we see how Sri Krishna pushes Arjuna to synchronize knowledge, jnana, actions, karma, and devotion, dedication to the cause, bhakti. When we talk about social justice, it's about more rights to employment, education, healthcare, social protection, freedom, etc., etc. And remember, war crimes, genocides, or the other crimes transgressing the rights of others, it's only trespassing on the rights that I just mentioned. And the Sanatan Dharma puts emphasis on civic studies, learning about the universal living values, where it's not talking only about rights, but it's talking about rights with responsibilities. And rights without responsibilities led Ravan, who had more knowledge in terms of acquired knowledge than Sri Ram, but then he didn't shoulder his responsibilities as a responsible ruler, looking in his own personal interest, infatuation, and got the people of Lanka to suffer. And look at the righteous rule of Sri Ram. After vanquishing, after Ravan fell to his bows, then he ordered that Ravan be cremated with full honors and handed over the kingdom to Ravan's brother Vibhishan. In spite of the International Court of Justice, the new system of international justice being in place since 1998, we don't see these ethics even in modern worlds. And if we see the teachings of Sri Krishna, even of Bhishma Pitamaha when he was on the bed of arrows, if we see the advice given by Vidura to Dhritarashtra, the question arises, do we have such compassion for the fallen? Are we surrounded by advisors who can lead to righteousness, like Vidura, in spite of the king not willing to hear to that? So it shows that even people who are in the position as advisors need to shoulder their responsibilities. It's not only, as we say, give the advice to please the rulers, but also to push them to be righteous. What these rulers do is their action, but then the advisors do their karma properly. Then on the lines of the few concepts which we saw, Sangachadam Samvadadam Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam Krinvanto Vishwamaryam, we should understand the concept of Samanya and Vishesh Dharma. The duties and responsibilities that we have. Samanya is meant for all people, all citizens of the world, be it specific at community level, at the level of the village or the town or the city or the county or the district, the state or the nation or even the world. There are certain rules which overarchs on everybody at all levels. This is Samanya Dharma. Like the need to be patient, the need to promote goodness, the need to stay away from evil, the need not to steal, not to transgress on the rights of others. My freedom stops where the rights of others start. These are Samanya Dharma. Then there are Vishesh Dharma. Like the rulers need to rule righteously, be impartial, whether it be their son, their brothers, or their siblings, or their own blood relationship. If the wrong has been done, they have to take remedial action. Vishesh Dharma, like the educators, need always to take the holistic approach to education, not just only focus on writing, reading, and arithmetic, but also take the holistic approach in terms of the physical, mental, moral development of people. And that unfolds the spiritual nature of people. And this is where people become ethical on their own rather than using the carrot and stick approach. That becomes innate. And that becomes the swadharma of each and everybody, where they follow the conscience, the inner voice, the divine guidance which never fails us. And this is a very important part of the Vedic Hindu philosophy, or Sanatan Dharma, as we say, Swadharma. Follow the conscience, follow the inner voice, follow that divine guidance within us. The next one, Sanatan Dharma, as universal principles of modern days, calls for respect of life and the dignity of the human person. There's a clarion call to all individuals, family, community, society, nation, and world at large, to solidarity among all human beings. There's a call also for positive discrimination. Example, preferred option for the poor, needy for some time, but it doesn't go eternally. Because behind that, there should also be empowerment programs rather than eternal assistance. It calls for the dignity of work. And if we look at the Varna Vyavastha, each and everybody has his own specific duties, as we say, Vishesh Dharma, but then they integrate as the head, the hands, the stomach, and the feet of the body. If we remove one part of them, then we say we are handicapped. So it's the integration. And then we have to care for nature, for the universe, for the creation. There are also universal principles where equal opportunities, which is a key concept for social justice, it calls upon meritocracy, no to mediocrity. There's a question of reserved seats to the needy, to the poor, to those who are needy. That's why it's good to maintain that for a certain period of time, but empowerment should take over where meritocracy rules. Because if we continue on the reserved quotas, then what happens is mediocrity will rule. And society, instead of uplifting the physical, mental, moral, spiritual standards for increased social well-being, unfortunately will be lagging behind. Then, if we look into more details, that was a brief. Let's move out of this just a minute. So that's the end of the PowerPoint. If we look into further details, if we want to have a glimpse of what is there, then let's look at chapter 6 of the Satyar Prakash, which is about the Raj Dharma, the science of government. What it calls about, the first it talks about how we should go about running the government. It says there should be the legislative part. Unfortunately, today now we talk about the 4 pillars of power. One is the executive, then the other one is the legislative. Then we talk about the judiciary. Then we talk about the powers of the press. These are the 4 pillars, but where stands the people? And the science of government in Sanatan Dharma, as per the Vedas, and codified and put forward to us by Manu in the Manusmriti, by Chanakya in the Chanakya Niti. And if we look at economics in the Kautilya Arthashastra, it says this is the legislative and the ruler or the executive in modern days. Formerly there were the kings, but now we have the executive, either the president or the prime minister, who have the executive powers along with the cabinet. They are responsible mutually to the legislative part. And by the way, elections are there, referendums are there, they are answerable to the people. Then we have the judiciary, etc., etc. But then there is the council looking about ethics everywhere. We'll find the word there, it's called the religious council, but in fact, it's not the religious council. That has been a wrong connotation or word associated to dharma. Dharma is about righteousness in all aspects of life. Then there's the educational council. The educational council, which has to work not only by looking at schools and colleges, etc., but should run also public platforms to discuss about policies, especially looking about the ethical parts of policies. Then there are the qualities of the rulers. They have to be ethical and be as role models. We're talking about the chief officers, where the officers responsible for the officers should also be noble people, that is, with exceptional character, line of actions, and nature. The members of the political assembly, likewise, the educational assembly, especially the ethical assembly, should all be people who have strong moral principles of honesty, sincerity, dedication. It talks also about the duties of ministers, of advisors, of counselors, ambassadors, etc. Then the important part is talking about revenue taxation, that those who have more should be able to give more to promote social justice. Because if the people down the line feel oppressed, they are going to revolt, and that is going to create a ruckus, and there goes to the drains peace. Then he talks about the respective duties of people at various levels, in various professions, which we know today as the code of conduct for the various professions. It talks about making peace even with the enemies. And when we make peace with the enemies, it's that we get them to adopt good policies, good concepts, and be truthful. It's not only making peace with the enemies, because peace is not only the absence of war, but peace is also about rights with responsibilities. It's about the social welfare of each and every individual in society. It talks about even how we should proceed in war times, in times of distress, in times of natural calamities. Then we are talking about the administration of justice and the 18 causes of disputes, which is there. One is the non-honoring of debts, then deposits, like the transgression of property, trespass of property. Then there's business, where there are disputes. Then there's dispute due to association, like people associate, especially to do crimes, unfortunately, and that is part also of international justice. Then there are non-payment of wages, of what is due to people, or non-honoring of contracts. Then refusal to settle debts, dispute regarding sales, purchases, business. Dispute also among farmers, among businessmen, among others. There are boundary disputes. Then there are assault, defamation, larceny, burglary. There's violence, and war falls into that. There's adultery, disregard of conjugal fidelity, inheritance, and the worst of them is gambling. Then it talks also about witness and their aptitudes. Often we say people are giving witness under oath and taking that to be the truth, when we all know they are just lying, or they are just talking about their side of the stories in utter disregard for the common interest. So we have to be careful with witnesses. It's not only a question about they are talking under oath, but also we have to look at the veracity behind that. And Manu gives a very strong indictment there. It says those who do wrong in full knowledge of the wrongdoing should be given higher penalties. And the yardstick is that it should be at least 100 times to 1,000 times of the penalty that is being given to another person who does the same wrong, but in total ignorance. And most of the crimes, the genocides, the social discrimination and everything are being practiced by people in full knowledge and consent. So if we want to move towards international justice, just remember, we have to be fair to ourselves as individuals. We have to be fair with members of our family, with friends, with relatives. And then that grows, we are fair towards the community. We are dealing in all fairness with everybody in the state, in the nation, and in the world. So the focus of Sanatan Dharma, it says everything starts with the individual and grow higher and higher to touch upper layers, ultimately society at large or the world at large. So for that, the building of the character or the molding of the character of the person starts with the early childhood age. And if we go a bit back to that, taking the example of the Ramayana, that says it goes even before conception by adopting righteous principles in life. The principle of brahmacharya, which is not only about restraint or maintaining the vital energies of the body, but also focusing on righteousness, increasing our knowledge on how to be righteous in all aspects of life. And this is where it's going to make the impact, and that made the impact to give us Sri Ram, who is known as Maryada Purushottam Sri Ram Chandra. And also, if we look at the life of Sri Krishna before begetting the child, he maintained the principles of celibacy for 12 years. That made the difference between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And if we still go into the details of today, that people don't become evil overnight. It's a whole build-up, which then when that person starts doing evil, if we analyze the personality, then we'll see that it was a gradual shift to that. Just as we say, if a child is wrong today, and if we don't show that child the right path, we say, okay, let it be. We'll talk to it next time. And then after the next time, we say again next time. That starts building towards the wrong side of life. But if we take it to be like this each and every time, the child does something which we feel is not proper, we take the child, just try to explain and show that was wrong and what is the right path. Gradually, slowly, when we re-gear the direction. So what happens is that we are doing the gradual molding of the character, of the personality of people. So the focus is still, and the major responsibility falls on, as we say, Matriman, Pitriman, Acharivan, Purusho, Veda. Blessed is the child whose parents, mother first, father second, and the teachers, preceptors, mentors are righteous people and show the child righteous living by living righteously. So these are the eternal principles, universal principles of Sanatan Dharma as regards to social justice, international justice, and hope I've been able to give some insights with some depth, and going to the appropriate references. Just remember the references. Need not go into the depth of the Vedas. Take the Manusmriti, take the Chanakyaniti, take the Vidurniti of the Mahabharata, take the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata, take the Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata, take the Gita itself, then take the personality of Sri Ram and look at the way he dealt with Hanumanji, with the Vanaras, Sugriv, etc., and how he sent his messengers to discuss about peace before embarking on the war, and how he treats the fallen after the war, and how he returns the kingdom to Vibhishan. If we look into those small things, bits and pieces, we'll be able to, as we say, move on the side where prevention is not only better, but also cheaper than cure. That was a more equitable society. Thank you for your attention, and leave it to Dhananjay for the conclusion.
Thank you, Acharya-ji, for your yet another very burning topic like justice, how it is explained in the Vedic Hindu philosophy. The concept of justice in Vedic Hindu philosophy, you referred several mantras in the Hindu philosophy and Ramayana and Mahabharata, referring all those that war is certainly not the first option, but the last option. Before that, we need to do a lot of the things before reaching to the conclusion of war. You explained with these three very basic concept of Hindu philosophy: Sangachadvam, Samvadadvam, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and Krinvanto Vishwamaryam. For any latest or burning topic, we keep discussing every week at Hindu Center of Atlanta's this every Sunday evening 9 p.m. You can join us for the spiritual learning every Sunday 9 p.m. For the other programs, every Friday we have a program for the kids and young youth. Friday 9 p.m. to 9:30, and Saturday we have weekly satsang. So do join us on those programs for us. At the end, Acharya-ji will end with the Om Jap. These are the point of contacts. You can refer to our phone number and our other social media platforms. You can join with us. Over to Acharya-ji.
So just a reminder is that we have the kids program on Fridays, we have the weekly services on Sundays, and we have the spiritual learnings on Sunday night. But we are also open to have one-to-one counseling discussions. So you please join through social media. And in these times with technology, we can also join on WhatsApp and Zoom. So if you need, just drop us a line on Facebook Messenger, on our email, hinducenterofatlanta@gmail.com. Next, as from next week, it's Guru Purnima, it's Shravan Mass coming. And Shravan Mass is a highly spiritually charged period in Vedic Hindu philosophy. We are going to touch about Sanatan Dharma, themes like why the Vedas, why the scriptures in human life. So please join us to understand more about Shravan Mass itself and why spirituality in life. Thank you for attention. Just sit down straight, close the eyes gently, one Om jap. And while doing the Om jap, just focus on the chanting, on the vibrations, and feel the inner peace. Om. Namaste, everybody. Thank you